Welcome to Interconnected with Jourdan. I'm your host, Jourdan Saunders, and today we're exploring a conversation about communication, inclusion, and making sure every child, regardless of their ability, has a voice. This episode is for you if you're a parent wondering how to support your child's communication needs, a teacher, or maybe even a community leader wanting to make your spaces more inclusive. Someone may be simply curious and they want to tune in about the power of assistive technology and helping children connect with the world around them. Our guest today has dedicated her career to making communication accessible for all. She is a highly experienced speech language pathologist, assistive technology specialist, and advocate for inclusive communication. She has over 30 years in pediatric speech therapy, and she has worked across hospitals, schools, and rehabilitation centers, helping children find their voices in ways that work for them. She is also the president of Resources at Lakeshore Speech, where she's bringing accessibility to outdoor spaces nationwide through playground communication boards. VernaAnn, I'd love to start by hearing about your journey. What inspired you to enter the field of speech language pathology? And did you have a defining moment when you knew this was the work you were meant to do?
Jourdan, I am thrilled to be here. I have known I wanted to be a speech therapist since I was in ninth grade. So that was just a few years ago. But I had the opportunity to volunteer in our local hospital. And they needed someone in the speech department to cut things out and laminate and Velcro and all the good things that we do. And I ran quickly to that and was just enamored by the work that was being done. From young to old, coming through the door, it just brought me in. The women that I was working with as a volunteer were so gracious and allowed me to be that extra playmate during the therapy session and sit in and practice conversations with some of the older patients. And it was from that point on, I kind of was hooked. I clearly like to talk, and the idea of being able to help other people communicate and get their points across and make those connections and relationships, um, I I never looked back.
I love what you talked about making those connections and relationships. It's
Yeah.
almost like speech language pathologists innately have that trait within them.
Yeah.
I did forget to ask you, where are you located for anyone who's watching?
So I'm in Lakewood, Ohio, which is a western suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. So we're right on Lake Erie.
Awesome. And can you share a little bit more about augmentative and alternative communication, AAC? How would you describe it in simple terms for someone that may be listening that is not familiar with what AAC is?
Sure. AAC, if you think about it, think of it not as speech, but as communication. So we get our points across to one another in a variety of ways. Speech is not the only way to communicate. Using AAC, whether it's low tech or high tech, is a form to build that bridge between not being able to communicate at all and connecting and communicating effectively using some type of device. To me, it is the definite difference between sitting alone and being upset and opening up your world. So I've seen that so many times with children in particular, that one moment when they get their point across, they get to tell you what to do. They get to make that choice. The look on their face, it's all cliche, but it is priceless.
Yes. And what about high tech, low tech? You mentioned that.
Right.
Can you give one example of high
Sure.
tech and one example of low tech?
Sure. Low tech would be hand gestures, like mm, 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 mm. Low tech would also be just pointing to a picture or pointing to an object. Low tech could be lining up a bunch of pictures and making your choice from that. High tech is an iPad with an actual communication app on it, which then allows the individual to touch a picture and string together a bunch of different icons or words to create a full sentence and paragraph. The vocal or verbal auditory output on high tech then gives that speaker that definite message. When you're on low tech, you as the listener are interpreting a little bit more of what the individual is saying. Either way, they're getting their point across.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for providing those examples. When people think of AAC, sometimes they may think of, oh, okay, could be transformative for a child with complex communication needs. But can you explain why it could be for even a broader community as well?
Yes, definitely. So yes, an individual or a child without verbal speech being able to use some form of AAC to make their point heard. That's a real easy way to think of that. Another opportunity that we have had is to build the bridge between language differences. Being able to put more than one language on the board, and as the community comes together at these parks and pools, they're able to communicate with one another without that barrier of I don't speak your language, you don't speak my language. But look, that picture tells me that we're going to go, slide right now. So that's a piece of it. For individuals who process information visually versus auditorily, so they're going to understand things better when they see it versus hear it, these types of boards allow them to really visualize what that expectation is. Go sit down, go slide, go swing. Oh, you want me to go do those things? Perfect. Let's go rock and roll. Also, for people who have had language and have lost it due to an accident, a stroke, traumatic brain injury, these are ways where their frustration can decrease significantly. That stress of, oh my gosh, I'm not going to remember the word. My grandchild isn't going to understand what I want to do or what I want to see them do. With this form of AAC, they're able to very calmly put themselves together and be able to communicate what they want.
I'm thinking of all of the different examples you gave and just how different they are, and how much through those examples you provided that this can really be a tool to support communication in different settings. Sometimes when people think of communication and getting that support, they may think of one specific type of example, maybe in a speech therapy setting,
Right.
and an individual is getting support, but you provided a lot of different wonderful examples of outside of the therapy room, as well as you mentioned something key, and I would love for you to expand more about being a bridge. What's one thing when we talk about a bridge a parent could do today, let's say, to help a child feel supported in public spaces?
So, first thing, bring your child to those public places. Don't stay home because you're not sure. Bring them. The community needs them. They need to see your child. An easy thing is, well, coupons. It's the most basic way and easiest way for parents to communicate or build their own short, little, small communication boards. So coupons, or now with the interwebs, you can Google any picture and put it on there. You can get a picture of a slide, a picture of a swing, and a picture of a seesaw, and just have those there. And where do you want to go? Touch that picture and off you go. And everyone is in a happy place. Don't forget a picture of food and snack, because if you're going to the playground, you're going to be thirsty and hungry, and those are going to cause some kind of behavioral issue if I don't get something to drink or eat. Make sure you bring those too.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the part about like just a picture. We
Yeah.
think of technology as amazing as well. I imagine that's another option too if you have a picture on your phone. I do like the idea as well, if not just to have just a print off picture or whatever picture that represents the object. What about teachers or school leaders? what's a simple step toward creating a more communication-friendly classroom or school environment?
Slow down. We want answers real quick. And for individuals that have a communication difference, that rate of speech communication is is a barrier. So by slowing down and allowing the individual to take the time they need to either find the answer on their device, show you in some way how to communicate that, and just the overall feel of, I have the stage, I have the floor, nobody's going to be cutting me off. I'm going to get to say what I need to say. That respect of time is the difference for many of our kids. And it's a real easy one to build in a classroom. It doesn't cost anything. Just slow down, take a breath. You feel so awkward when you ask a question of a child who's using a device or who has a different form of communication. You ask and then you got to wait. And we are a society of needing to fill that limbo space, that quiet space. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of discipline. Just count to 20. Just make yourself do that. And I think you will be amazed at how the students will react, because it then becomes the thing in the classroom, right? So if you're doing that for one student, now their peers are watching you model that, and now they're going to do that. And now we're building this great community of understanding and respect and desire to actually build those relationships.
Yes, 20 seconds. That's a great number to start with, because it does feel so long to someone if they're waiting for that response. But the respect that it gives for that interaction, the child, and how much we talked about a child having their voice. And this is their way of communicating, and to be able to, even if it takes a little bit longer, to have that waiting time, how valuable that is. And I also liked how you said you're modeling it for their other peers that are in the class. And you're right, we do live in a society where we want to really just speed things up, but it really does hold value to be able to slow down and have that moment to be able to allow that child to respond.
Yeah.
I came across your work, I should say, through the playground communication boards, and I absolutely love it. And I would love for you to be able to speak a little bit more about that side of your work. Can you
Yeah.
tell us how these boards work? I know you talked a little bit about it in the
Right.
beginning, but what impact do they have on the communities, and why is inclusive play spaces, why are these so important for children with communication differences, or if someone doesn't have any communication differences?
Right. So, my business partner, Ellen Spear, and I truly believe that every child should have a voice. Everyone should have the opportunity to let themselves express themselves and let themselves be known. So, the way our communication boards work is we are considered low tech. It is a 4 foot long by 2 foot wide aluminum alloy piece, and it has a grid of 35 different icons on it. We have licensing for two of the speechies out there, board maker and symbol sticks. Everybody else, that means nothing, but we have licensing for those, and so we are able to create whatever is needed for the space. We have standard layouts, so we've already done the work behind it. And to understand the fact that we're not just slapping pictures on a board, there's a science behind it. There's a reason why you put certain things certain places. And so that science is something that speech therapists really enjoy because we're nerdy that way. And so our business is different in that it's two speech therapists. We get it. We do it. We are both still practicing. So we are the ones that are constantly changing things because now, oh, wow, I tried that and it didn't work. So we're going to try this again. So it's a grid of 35 pictures, and an individual would walk up to it and touch, I want whatever they want, a drink. And the person they're with would definitely get the message loud and clear. I think when you speak about how did it impact communities, we had a customer, the city of Lowell, Massachusetts. Every pool, school, and playground in Lowell, Massachusetts has one of our signs in it. And that was an amazing project to work on because they had it done in 4 languages: English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Kerm. And Kerm is, I believe, a Vietnamese language, and I don't speak any other language. And so Google Translate and I became really close. And through working with, of course, their translators, we got the verbiage and the symbols and everything the way it was needed. And the reports back from Lowell is that brought the community together. So now you have families who are able to communicate through the use of our tools and build that bridge. It doesn't matter what language you speak, we are able to communicate and move on and enjoy one another's company. And so as far as building that community, that acceptance, that open-armed feeling, like, come on, we're all here to play, let's go, at pools, at playgrounds, therapeutic horseback riding, you name the place, there is a place for these types of tools.
Thank you for sharing that story. The impact seems very impactful, especially you're not only incorporating in one environment, but multiple. And it sounds like you customize the communication
Yep,
board to the environment. So we were talking about playground, but then if it's at a pool, all of the communication boards are customized with core vocabulary to
yep,
that environment. Is that correct?
that is correct. The core and fringe, again, for those of you that aren't speech, it's nerdy, but core are those words that you don't like, that make sense. I need that, right? I want that. Fringe is those real specific vocabulary words to the setting. And so we 100% believe that a communication board has to be individualized and customized for whatever the need is, and that's when it's most effective. So everything we do is 100% customizable. It makes a huge difference. Sometimes the difference between just 2 symbols being changed, it brings the whole thing together for a different, community, depending on what they need.
Got it. Okay. And I'm impressed how big these are. Sounds like life size
Yeah, they're big, and some of it,
boards.
yeah. When it comes to installation, we don't do installation. No, we are
Wow.
speech therapists. Draw the line. And so, installation wise, they can't be any taller than 3 feet off the ground because most people who are using them are little, or they're in a wheelchair, or you want to make sure that they're not way up high where now they're useless. So we
Mhm.
really stress that when we are finishing our sale with a customer in that sense. The other piece to keep in mind is the cells themselves need to be large enough for individuals who might have motoric disabilities. So if your hand is crunched up like this, right, it's really hard to point to something small. So not everyone can point their finger out, right? So we have some kids who are using their whole fist. They might use a whole hand. So in that case, we wanted to make sure that when you're in that environment, you can access it easily. And that is not a dig at anybody's communication device itself. Through experience watching children run around with an iPad strapped across their body and it's flapping all around, the adult spends a lot of time going, oh, don't, oh, wait, oh, eat, because that iPad's going to get crushed or that device is going to get crushed. Simply taking off the device for the 30 minutes you're at the park, but you didn't take away your voice. Your voice is still there and you know how to get to it. And it's very, very durable. So go ahead, run around, do all your crazy kid stuff, and then go over there and tell me what you need. It has to be that large to be effective.
Got it. That makes sense. And so, resources at Lakeshore Speech, you've told us about some of the incredible initiatives. Are there any other initiatives that you're doing? I would love for you, if we could just take this time as we wrap up, to tell about some upcoming projects or something that you're really
Sure.
excited about. And how can listeners that are listening right now support the work that you're doing. Maybe there is someone that's thinking, do I have to have this special training? As you're talking, I'm thinking, wow, like someone could not have a special training and maybe bring this up for a
Yep,
community park that they have up the street. So, can you just explain
sure.
any initiatives that are front and center that you all have going on and how people can get involved with the work that you all are doing and find you?
Sure thing. Right now, I think we have 4 different Eagle Scout projects that we are working with these young men and women, as they were the ones that approached us about wanting to make this their mission for their Eagle Scout project and bring that to their community. So that has been very exciting, going through the process with these young adults, young kids. And they have been so receptive to understanding it, getting it. Oh, wait, I can do this, I can do that, and being excited about it. So any Eagle Scout or Girl Scout out there that, wants to do a project, visit our website, take a look at it. There are a lot of different examples on lakeshorespeech.com. Now, other ones are getting into municipalities, getting the entire city or the entire school district to have all of their playgrounds have a sign. Because in that sense, it doesn't matter what playground you live close to, you're going to be able to communicate. And that's of the utmost importance. I will say, if you for 1 minute think that you want to make a difference in your community, this is possibly one of the easiest ways you can go about that. Contact your Parks and Recreation departments, contact your school district, your churches, any civic groups. We've worked with a lot of different agencies, and it's not an insurmountable thing to do. On our website, we do have information about getting funding, where some funding ideas would be to get for acquiring a communication system for your playground or your pool or wherever you want it to be. And just start asking questions. Ask your speech therapist at schools. Call the school and just say, hey, do you guys have a speech therapist I can talk to? I guarantee they do. And I guarantee the speech therapist will talk to you. So, it's, you have a PTA group, do that. That's a great way to get everybody involved. In one school district, they designed everything. The speech therapist went in, did a lesson on it. Um, we worked back and forth. The kids came up with the words they wanted. We did the design, sent that back. They wanted things moved. I mean, these children were so vested, and it showed in the pictures that they sent of them engaging with and enjoying it. So don't be afraid. Take the step. We're here. We are not scary people. And just ask a question, and I guarantee you will get an answer.
Oh, Verna, thank you for your wealth of expertise, for sharing your heart and your unwavering dedication to making communication accessible for all. To everyone listening, thank you for joining us, whether you're a parent, educator, therapist, or community member. Remember that every voice matters, every child deserves to be heard. The steps we take today to create more inclusive spaces will shape a world where everyone belongs. Thank you for joining us. See you
Thank
next
you.
time.